We're out here at the Marion Municipal Airport on this beautiful day, and we have visiting with us today Jim Kirkpatric and Gary Elliot. And they're going to tell us about this beautiful airplane that Jim here owns and built. And Jim, this is a home-built airplane, is that right?
Yes, it is.
What possesses a guy to do something like this?
Oh, I don't know, Ray. I just liked airplanes all my life, and I built a lot of models and everything. And I hooked up with Gary there on a Mini-Max, so I built a Mini-Max. And when I got that done, well, I was invited down here to their open house at Loehle's, and I kind of liked this, and my wife encouraged me to buy it so I'd have something to do during the winter.
What kind of airplane is this?
It's a Loehle P5151 Mustang.
Okay, so it's a replica of a real World War II P-51, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
What scale?
Well, it's supposed to be a 3/4, but I don't think it's quite that big. You know, I think it's more or less a half or something like that.
Well, it sure is an interesting airplane. Does it come in a kit, or from the time you started, how long did it take to build this airplane?
Yeah, when I got it, I brought it home in my pickup in 9 boxes. And I started on it 8th of January in '93, and it took me 2 years and 8 months to finish it.
What do you power this thing with? What engine do you have in it?
It's got a Rotex 582, 65 horse, liquid cooled.
Well, what a privilege it must be, Gary, to be associated with Jim and have the opportunity to fly this airplane for Jim. Can you tell us a little bit what it's like flying this airplane?
Well, I suppose you feel a little bit like a fighter pilot, just to be honest. You know, in your own mind, you kind of get a feeling that, you know, what it must have been like, you know, when those guys were flying these Mustangs, the real thing, in World War II. But, you know, it doesn't have quite the performance, you know, I have to admit, that the real thing has. But, you know, it's a very, very stable airplane. You know, it's top speed, probably about 100 miles an hour. And, you know, landing speed, we're looking at somewhere around 55. Stalls at about 42. So, you know, it's a docile airplane, very, very stable. You know, it's just a great plane to fly. It's really smooth.
A couple questions more for you, Jim. Where did you come up with this name, Hot Stuff?
Oh, I found a little old pen once, and I liked it, and I had it on my sun visor for a long time, so I thought, well, I'll just name it Hot Stuff, you know.
I think it's a beautiful paint job, and the design, it just looks like a real World War II fighter. Jim, the landing gear on this airplane, does it retract like a real P-51?
Yeah, it's a retractable, but this is done by hand instead of hydraulic.
So, Gary, what do you have to do to make this gear come up underneath?
Well, there's a latch that you know, you unlock the gear, you know, from a down position. You unlock that, and then you've got a handle on the side of the fuselage cabin there that you just crank, and about 19 turns of the crank gets the gear up.
Well, we thank you for coming out, and let's go flying, okay?
Sounds good, Ray. Let's go.